Okay then. And we are live with another episode of BS Busters. The first BS Buster of the new year. That's right, folks. We've survived another year of bullshit. Bad games, good games, mediocre games, bullshit in the media. We've survived another one. And you know what that means? We've made another one. We've made it. We made it another year, and because we've made another year, you know what that means?
Time to do a top 10 list.
No, it's time for us to.
You're trying to cliche us early, buddy.
It's time for us to give. It's time for us to take stock of the last year, the last decade, and think about the good things, and the bad things, and what we can do better. But before we go any further, I would like everyone to introduce themselves. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Ladies first, then the gentleman, and then we'll get into it. Lady, go first.
Thank you very much. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. I am Joe Writer, Eli Moonstar. Welcome you to the first BS Busters of 2020. And oh boy, we got plenty to let out.
Yeah, we do. Pinky?
And this is Steve Johnson Vivian. First let's get this started already.
All right.
I have quite a few different orgasms. So I have...
Okay then. And of course, this is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. And like the man said, we're about to do a deep dive into some bullshit. But first, I guess we should talk a little bit about our holidays. So, what'd you guys do during the holidays aside from eat copious amounts of food, fattening rich foods, drinking tons of eggnog, maybe partying? I don't know.
I sadly couldn't enjoy that much because my fifth and aunt and nephews were making me sick on all those weeks.
Oh, that sucks for you. Pinky?
Oh, what's happening for my Christmas? For my time of Christmas?
Yeah. What'd you do?
Well, nothing much. My family and I just stayed at home. We didn't visit any of our family members' house to celebrate even a dinner party.
All right. Okay. So that being said, I guess we can dive into it. So
New findings reveal that 20...
So basically, who wants to go first with their worst? I mean, we're gonna start. We're gonna get the bad out the way first. So the worst games of the decade. Who wants to go first?
I could probably start because if anything, I did my version of the top 10s of sorts. My cardboard, notepad, toilet paper.
Okay,
It's a
go ahead.
simple top 3 list of sorts. What did you say?
Okay, go ahead. Go.
Alright, I was just being sure about it.
No, go ahead. Get started. Go.
My honorable mention for this list would be Beautiful Joe Red Hot Rumble.
Why is that? Why that game?
We're talking decade.
Yeah.
Red Hot Rumble came out
in
the, I want to say the 2000s, not the 2010s.
I'm sorry if it seals a little off, but if anything, I didn't check. It's one of the games that I got in that time period, so this is kind of a personal one.
All right.
But the others, as far as I know, though, these came out in the last. These also came out in the same time period, but I'm a little iffy, and also what I think would be the be the bottom of the bucket. My cardboard will be Mario Party Island Tour. Pinky, you're excused for next round.
I thought it was gonna be the top 100.
No.
Because that's supposedly.
That's a collection. I at least tried to go with a game, not a collection there.
No, if you're going over the top 100, we're gonna cut you off. if you're doing 100 games, we're just gonna cut you off right there.
Yeah, but
ain't nobody gonna be here for 100 games.
Yeah, but for cardboard, I picked Island Tour over something like the top 100.
All right.
And for Notebook, Pinky is excused for this one because I'm putting Sword and Shield in this line.
Well, I mean, look,
Yeah,
it's your list. You can put whatever you want to on that list.
Yeah, but I was going to say that the downward spiral of the Pokemon series took me down to putting the recent one, Sword and Shield, in the Notebook section. But then again, at least it's not toilet paper.
I was expecting.
I'm going to at least say that.
Rather than Sword and Shield.
What?
I was expecting Let's Go, actually.
I didn't put. I'll be honest with you. On my list, I don't have any Pokemon games on either of my lists as top 10 worst or top 10 best.
Well, if anything, the toilet paper for my list would be Last Story, and I'm probably never going to hear the end of this one.
I guess that came out in 2012, but I mean, look, it's your list. It's your personal.
Yeah, I got in that one.
Yeah, that's not
during
really
the decade too, and
well,
as I said,
it came out in
I got the Wii version.
Yeah,
so
but I mean that's the only version it came out on. Last Story did come out. Last Story came out. I think it came out the same year as Xenoblade Chronicles, the original. And that came out in 2010. So, I mean, it's on the
if
cusp.
anything, I at least. Yeah, that was a little iffy, so that's why I put it on the list, but as toilet paper. Let's just say I couldn't get my grasp on it at all, and I'm an RPG player.
All right. I'm an RPG player too, but I wouldn't say Last Story is the worst game ever. I will say the combat system was a little kind of weird, but some people like that combat system, so
Yeah, that likely threw me off, but then again, I tried to play it the normal way and just through the Wii like method. It didn't work.
All right. Okay. So I guess I'll go. Unless, I mean, if you compare down your top 100, Pinky.
Oh no, I thought I was talking about Jewel asking why he didn't pick Mario Party the top 100 rather than.
Oh no. I do have Mario Party on my list worst of the decade. And that includes all the Mario Party games that have come out between 2009 and 2019. All of them. That's all of them. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get into it right now. So let's get into it. So these are my top 10 worst games of the decade. Now, my qualifications to be on this list are games that either I own or have personally played a lot of. So it has to be a game, and the qualification to be the worst is if all I had were these 10 games, and I played them once over a decade, would I play them again? Like, would they turn me off of gaming for 10 years straight? And the answer is yes. So these are my worst 10 games of the decade. So number 10 is Vanilla Skyrim. Now I know Skyrim came out before 2009, but Vanilla Skyrim Legendary Edition came out in 2012. And the reason I put this game on here over the original game, the original release of the game, is because literally the same technical issues that plagued the first game, the first release, are in this game. I mean, it looks slightly better. The graphics are slightly better, and you can run and jump at the same time. But the same technical issues, the same broken quest strings, the same bugs and glitches. So literally all they did was just take the assets, put them in a slightly updated engine, and release this game. They made no technical changes.
I was about to say, isn't that term quoting polishing a turd?
Yeah, well, I would call it regurgitated shit. Like someone regurgitated something in a box and then sold it to you. Again, the same shit that they sold you before. And that's basically what vanilla Skyrim is. Now, I know what some people are going to say. I like this game. You know, like I've heard. I had a gentleman.
Something to remember. I was going to say something to remember. You usually put mods into the game before much else.
Well, I mean, what I was about to say is I had a gentleman's disagreement with Quan Manchu a while ago, where he was talking about, yeah, I like this game. I'm like, man, why would you want to play a broken version of Skyrim? He's like he wanted to play it on the Switch. I'm like, why would you want to play a version of Skyrim when you can't mod it to being at least presentable? Like, why? I don't get it. But I don't like it. So, you know, my number 9 is Fallout 4. That came out in 2015. Fallout 4 is a steaming pile of dog shit. Yes, I said that. It's not very good. Yes, I
Wouldn't
said
be surprised if you had more. Wouldn't be surprised if you had more words to use with that game.
I mean, the reason I'm saying that the reason Fallout 4 2015 came out is on here is because Fallout 4 is like Fallout under Bethesda has not been a very good series, but Fallout 4 is particularly bad. Like it's particularly shitty. It's not good. Number 8 is Fallout 76. That came out in 2018. Now, I don't own this game, but I've played about 8 hours of it, and it's as bad as people have told you. It is bad.
I was going to say that you found out how terrible something is, and the rumors were under guessing it or over guessing.
No, it's as bad as people have said. It is. This game is terrible. Like, Bethesda should be ashamed for making this game. Like, they should literally be ashamed. Like, they should be like, hey, you know, we owe everybody an apology. We're sorry.
Some money for this.
They need to go on an apology tour, just going around just telling everyone, we're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry.
And not the South Park variants.
I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, they just need to apologize to everybody. Just big. They need to go on an apology tour. I'm sorry. I fucked up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. And I know some people are going to disagree, but I don't really give a shit. My number 7 is Mario Party. The entire franchise. I don't like it.
So it does include the ones that came out this past decade.
Well, I mean, I was going to get to that qualifier. The entire franchise going from 2009 to 2019. The reason this franchise is on this list is because Mario Party is like Nintendo's Madden, but without the microtransactions. When I say this, I mean they haven't made any substantial changes to the franchise in years. Nothing to really update it or make it better. It's just basically the same shit over and over again. And I was one of those people who used to defend this franchise saying, well, it's like a board game. I would rather play Monopoly, which is one of the most boring board games you can ever play, than Mario Party.
And the funny thing I can make that line is, the funniest thing I can make the line about that is that people usually play that game wrong.
Yeah, you should be drunk. Or every time you lose, every time someone rolls something that makes you lose stars, you get to punch them in the face. Then you're playing it right. But yeah, Mario Party. The only reason, like Mario Party is not fun. It has not been fun.
I was talking about Monopoly there.
Mario Party. Like I don't know why people like Mario Party. I don't know why people continuously.
For me, it's a bit of a fun thing to try to introduce some people to gaming.
Because the new board design is kind of the same reason why. The reason why you enjoy the new Super Mario Bros. Games, even though
look, man,
most of the gamers loathe them for how uninnovative.
Look, man,
uninnovative they are.
2D Mario games are all about level design. It's all about the level design. A board game,
it depends on board design as well as
No, it doesn't. Because people
Pinky, you just lost yourself here, Pinks.
People don't play Mario Party
for board design.
The same logic people don't play. It depends on the genre of game. People do not play a electronic board game for board design. People play Mario Party for the mini games, but the mini games haven't made a substantial leap in all these years. It's basically the same shit over and over again. They have different characters, and yeah, I mean they added the ability for different characters to have different board abilities, which is nice. But none of the characters really play differently in most of the mini games. So literally, there's no the only thing you're getting from the character is just an aesthetic. Really, during the mini games, there's no real substantial change.
In the recent Mario Party game, they now have their own exclusive dice.
Oh that just made everything
different. That's a step compared to what leaps and bounds have been going on in certain games.
That's not even a step. That's just you kind of slid your foot forward a few inches. It's still on the ground. You haven't really moved yet.
I was gonna make it. Are you gonna make a Mega Man joke with that one?
No, it's just.
Because that's how much of a. Because the big thing, I think that's how much of a step it is.
Yeah, to me, it's one of the worst. And, I don't own any of these games, but I've borrowed them from friends because, I don't like to, and I've played a lot of them at friends' houses because they have, younger siblings or kids, and they're like, yeah, I want to get my kids into it. I don't like Mario Party anymore.
This is. I was going to say that Mario Party, I consider an introductory game as it's a game that you could show to somebody, tell them how to play a little, and it gets going pretty quickly, at least to me.
No, I'm done. I can't do it.
So, if anything, I don't consider it a serious game.
Yeah, so the next game on my list, number 6, is Animal Crossing. The one, Happy Home Designer, the one that basically had amiibo cards. Yeah, fuck this game.
Not Amiibo Festival?
No, it's the one that basically, it's the one that you had amiibo cards that you had to you could basically get in order to let you get new designs to decorate your little bungalow with. Fuck this game. That's all.
Thankfully, you and me can agree on that.
Yeah. Fuck that game. So the next one is Street Fighter V, which came out in 2016. This game.
Oh god, the history of that one.
This game is especially shitty. Like Street Fighter's been going downhill for years now, but Street Fighter V is
a special variant of down.
Is a special variant. What type of Street Fighter game would be released that doesn't have a single player day one, doesn't have a tutorial mode day one, doesn't have all it had was versus mode. No single player, just a versus
and
mode.
Also don't forget if you lose your online connection, some of your progress is gonna go.
Yeah, and you had to always be online. And Capcom released this and then acted surprised when people didn't like it. And it also was a PlayStation exclusive at launch. PlayStation exclusive and also on PC. And then they were like, I can't believe that this game didn't sell well. Oh, yeah, not surprised.
And the surprise Pikachu face, and you got the higher view of this game.
Yeah, Capcom, you fucked up. Number 4 is the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. The entire trilogy. Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, 13-3, Lightning Return. That whole trilogy can eat shit and die as far as I'm concerned. I hate this franchise.
It's one thing that I was going to say, it's one thing to have Final Fantasy do a sequel to one of their numbers. It's another thing when those sequels, Well,
I mean, Final Fantasy 13 is bad. Final Fantasy 13-2 is better than 13, but that's like saying, hey, would you rather get kicked in the balls or punched in the throat? I would prefer neither, actually. I would say the sequels
to a number is bad enough already. As in,
Final Fantasy shouldn't have sequels. Period. It just shouldn't have sequels in the first place. But the fact that they would make a sequel
to something so terrible
to one of the worst games in the series, that's even worse. But anyway, they capped it off with 13-3, which is basically their take on Majora's Mask. And as you might guess, it's terrible. I don't own these games, but I borrowed them from a friend and played through them. And even to this day, the 13 trilogy can eat shit and die. And, like Square Enix just continues trying to make Lightning into a character that people give a shit about. They're like, really, Lightning is popular in Japan. I've been to Japan. No, she isn't. Now they're trying to make
epic me.
Now they're trying
Did they actually say that?
Yeah, they did. Now they're trying to make Noctis into a character that's popular in Japan. He's not really popular in Japan either. Like, I don't know why they keep on trying to make these shitty characters popular. But speaking of Final Fantasy 15, number 3 is Final Fantasy 15.
Shouldn't we have a one game per franchise rule?
What? No, it's everyone's list is their list. I gave you my criterion to be on this list, and that was my criterion. And these are games that I either own or played that I think are the worst of the decade. And Final Fantasy 15 is on my goddamn list. That's how I feel. But anyway, Final Fantasy 15. This game is terrible. It's a steaming pile of shit. Like Final Fantasy 13 was bad, and there were 3 of them. But there were still tropes of Final Fantasy in there. Final Fantasy 15 feels like it was made by someone who doesn't like Final Fantasy. Like, you know how Godzilla 98 is a steaming pile of shit? Like, everyone agrees that it's a really bad movie. And then it turns out that Roland Emmerich didn't want to make a Godzilla movie. It's like, why the fuck would you make a Godzilla movie even though you didn't want to make a Godzilla movie? Like, you could have, like, you were coming off of Independence Day. You could have said no and done something else.
Yeah, that's the thing that bugs me, that if you have somebody that hates the genre of game and they make that game, how the Hades are you supposed to defend making BS?
Yeah. Final Fantasy 15 is basically, for all intents and purposes, is basically this guy. Like, he essentially made a Final Fantasy for people who hate Final Fantasy. That's Final Fantasy 15. It's like, oh, you like turn-based combat, deep strategic planning for your party, equipment, going to new towns, equipping out your party, side quests that are meaningful, interesting characters. Oh, fuck that. No, this is a beat 'em up. That's Final Fantasy 15.
I was gonna make the joke of Kratos in a sense, with the God of War, saying that I was supposed to make you a great warrior, and Kratos is the best one. You succeeded.
I guess. But anyway, my number two worst game of the decade is BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite.
Infinite?
Yeah, BioShock Infinite is on this list for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's on this list because
lore fouls.
Does it involve some continuity issues or the way the game is structured?
No, it's what BioShock Infinite could have been versus what it is. It's like it represents so much lost potential. Like BioShock Infinite could have been one of the best games ever made, and instead, like BioShock Infinite could have been okay. Wouldn't it be cool to see, like basically, here I forgot the main character's name. Let me look it up. Let me look it up real quick. BioShock could have been Jack Ryan, who is the failed aborted son of Andrew Ryan, the guy who created the city of Rapture, right? You could have had an alternate reality version of Jack teaming up with Elizabeth in order to, and Booker DeWitt to take on Father Elijah in the city of Columbia. You could have had this awesome thing where you had this twisted version of libertarian, philosophical Ayn Randian government versus this twisted version of ultra fascist, racist fascism in Colombia. And instead, what you got was this, this plot that was kind of up its own ass, typical, Ken Levine way too, like really, he's like, this is going to be an edgy game that tells a deep, intense story, and it did none of that. It was literally just, just a failure, just a failure. And that's not good.
And did the DLC not help either?
The DLC was like the DLC was like you went on a date with a woman and like you thought the date was gonna end well, and then you got to the end of the date and she just teased you with what could have been, but it still doesn't compensate for what it should have been. So that was the end of it. That's basically what it felt like. It was like, oh really, this could have been awesome, but fortunately it wasn't because you didn't give a shit.
Hello, my name is Ansida, and I'm from Taiwan.
And if you're not going to give a shit, I'm not going to give a shit either. So, yeah, BioShock Infinite killed a franchise. That's how bad it was. What could have been one of the greatest franchises. Like, we could have had Jack Ryan versus, you could have had the city of Columbia versus the city of Rapture. You could have had some awesome shit going on, and instead we got bullshit. So.
Hey guys, what's up?
How's it going, Kenoshi? Yeah, so for me, BioShock...
What?
I said for me, BioShock Infinite is one of the worst games of the decade. Just not because it's bad.
No, it's not the top.
It's it's not number one. It's not because it's bad within and of itself. It's bad because of what it could have been. It's like, man, so much wasted potential.
Yeah, dude. That's for sure.
Like I said, you could have had this awesome, you could have had a 3-act structure where you had Act 1 Okay, Act 1, you introduce Elizabeth and Booker DeWitt. And Act 2, because the whole point about Elizabeth is that she can open rifts and go into alternate realities. And Booker DeWitt is an alternate reality of Father Elijah, who's actually, Booker DeWitt is her father. Father Elijah gave away his daughter and then figured out how to enter alternate realities himself. But here's the thing, every time you enter alternate realities, if you're not really designed to do it, it messes up your body structure and slowly kills you and makes you sterile. Which is why he was so adamant on finding Elizabeth, his daughter that he gave away, who's Booker DeWitt. Booker DeWitt is an alternate reality version of Father Elijah who didn't figure out interdimensional travel. So, it's kind of a convoluted story, but the point is this: it deals with alternate realities and alternate versions of people. And so it would have been cool to have in Act 1, you introduce Elizabeth and Booker DeWitt. Act 2, they wind up going into this alternate reality where Rapture wasn't a complete shithole. Andrew Ryan managed to get what he wanted, and you basically have this alternate reality where you have this Rapture in its full. Not the shithole that it becomes in its reality in the original BioShock versus this Columbia. That would have been awesome. No, we didn't get that. No, just this bullshit. Ken Levine up his own ass, because that's basically what BioShock Infinite is. It should be called BioShock Infinite. Ken Levine's up his own ass. Makes a lot of promises. No resolution. So, with that being said, I have some dishonorable mentions. These are games that could have been on the list, almost made it, but got edged out by other titles. Anthem could have been on the list. I played about 5 hours of this game, and it's terrible. Dragon Age Inquisition. I own this game. It's a steaming pile of shit. It's you should never play an RPG and be like, this is boring. And I don't mean it's you're grinding to going towards something. I mean you're playing it and you're like, this is legitimately boring. This is not even close to being fun. The Madden series. Now, I don't own Madden, but I've played Madden, and I've played multiple versions of Madden. I played Madden 25, the more contemporary Maddens. This is a series that has not, same problem with Mario Party, it has not substantively changed in its iterations in years. Now, the only reason Madden isn't on this list is because EA is full of shit, and I expect them to fuck up. Nintendo knows better, and they should be better than EA. So that's why they got the harder, of those with higher of whom you have higher expectations have farther to fall. Because when I think you're full of shit, you're bullshit anyway. If you do something that's bullshitty, then I'm like, well, it's par for the course. The 2K series. Now, when I say the 2K series, I mean WWE 2K, NBA 2K. The 2K series in general is just not very good these days, and it's been getting progressively worse with each iteration, so it's on the list. And the last dishonorable mention is Mass Effect Andromeda. It's Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda should have been with BioShock Infinite, because Mass Effect Andromeda could have been a good game. There's a good game underneath all the bullshit, but the staff that should have been working on that game to make it presentable for its release got pulled to work on Anthem. Which basically EA has abandoned at this point. So, we had a game that could have been good come out mediocre so that they could work on, so that the staff could be pulled to work on a game that turned out to be shit anyway. So, it is what it is.
Okay, guess it's my turn.
I haven't gotten to number one. Number one. My number one worst game of the decade is Rage, which came out in 2010. The reason Rage is on this list is because Rage started out with so much promise. It was like id is returning to making games, because it had been a while since id had made a new game. And, for those of you who don't know, id is the same studio that made Doom, Wolfenstein, Quake, some of the games that defined PC first-person shooters on PC gaming. and they were making a game that was supposedly open world. And the thing is like Rage starts out really promising. You have this open world with cars. It's like Mad Max. It's set in a post-apocalyptic future on Earth. There's mutants. It's basically what Fallout could be if Fallout wasn't up its own ass, especially Bethesda's Fallout games. And by the end of the game, it reverts into a fucking corridor shooter that you could have gotten on any generic time. It's like they ran out of the money and they had to finish this game. They're like, okay, we'll go to what we know. Corridor shooter. You literally get a gun that's basically the BFG, and you go around shooting people in a corridor. It's lazy. It's the game had so much promise, and it just like Rage 2 is what Rage 1 could have been, but they ran out of money. So Rage is my number one worst game of the decade. I could have put some other games on here, but I didn't because, there's redeeming features in a lot of those other games. The dishonorable mentions are just games that I don't really like. Some of them I own, but they might be, it could have been worse. But yeah. Before we go on to you, Pinky, Kenoshi, introduce yourself, and then we'll let Pinky go on, and then you can go with your worst of the decade.
Okay.
I'm Kenoshi about Vito. Glad to be another one of these BS Busters.
All right. You're joining us from underwater, I see. I hear. From your bathysphere. Your bathysphere of evil villain lair. With terrible reception.
Yeah, maybe for a phone call, so I'm on my phone.
Okay, all right. Okay, cool. We're glad you could join us. Okay, so go. Give us your worst of the decade.
Okay, my top 10 lists will be in no particular order.
Okay.
But and it's also going to be based on general consensus, mostly.
Okay.
Partly games I personally played myself.
All right.
Okay, so let's go with number one, Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric.
Oh. Yeah, I could have put that on the list. But I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that game, so I was like, I went with games I personally owned. I didn't go with general consensus. But that is a good game to put on the worst of the decade. I agree.
Number two, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival.
Beep you.
Number three would have to be the recent WWE game from last year, 2019. Yeah, because the facial glitches.
Oof.
Okay. Number four would be Mass Effect Andromeda. Number 5, Fallout 76. That would be number 5. Number 6 would be Number 6 would have to be Friday the 13th, the game. Even though I play it from time to time, every Friday the 13th from now on.
It's that bad? Yeah. Good enough, isn't it?
Yeah. Number 7 would be Ride to Hell Retribution. Did that came out this decade? Last decade?
Yeah, it came out this decade. It's one of the worst games. It came out this decade. This past decade.
Number 8 would be Assassin's Creed Unity. Because again, the facial glitches that occurred over there. Number 9 would have to be. Let's see. Which game would have to be number 9? I guess I'll have to go with Mighty Number 9. because of the whole drama of the game's development and Kenji Inafune. And finally, number 10, we'll probably have to go with Hello Neighbor.
Was that the oh no, I think that was a different game.
It's a game where it's the first person horror game where you had to get inside your neighbor's closet without him spying on you, and whenever he catches you, he places more traps.
Well, no. When he catches you, he kicks you out of his house. But if you succeed, the next time you go over there, it gets harder every time. Like every subsequent time you get through the run. Like the first time you go through, it's kind of easy. The second time, it's just slightly harder. But every time you do well, it just gets harder every time. That's basically what.
Yeah, but the problem is it's physics engine.
Yeah, but a lot of games have that issue with the physics engine just being a piece of shit. But I get what you're saying.
And that will be my top 10 worst games of the decade.
Yeah.
Some honorable mention would have to be like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Because of the roster cuts and the terrible story mode.
I was about
And
to
the
say,
subpart DLC that got cut short because it flopped sales wise.
What game was that again?
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Yeah, that game flopped badly. It could have been awesome, but like Capcom didn't put the money to make it into a good game. They didn't spend the money to make it work.
I mean, the Marvel side could still work even without the inclusion of the X-Men and Fantastic Four characters, because you've still got some other Marvel characters with potential to be in the game, like.
Yeah, but Capcom bungled it so badly that it was like at that point it was like, okay, like we can't move on.
Whereas on the Capcom side, it's just mostly characters reused from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and very few faces.
Yeah, they did nothing. It was just wasted potential, really. It was like, oh, you had absolutely no reason to do anything new here. Okay, all right. You're not pushing the envelope.
Also honorable mentions would be New Super Mario Bros. 2. And it's just nothing more than a coin collectathon.
Well, it's a cash grab. Yeah.
likely, but it's a pickup play as a minor one, but still.
Yeah, okay.
And also honorable mention would be Fire Emblem Fates Retribution, the third route.
Yeah, I was gonna put in my worst of. I was gonna put Fire Emblem, the Fire Emblem games, like the handheld ones with all of that aggressive DLC. But I realized that even without the DLC, those are pretty good games. Like if you don't get any of the DLC, those games are still pretty good within and of themselves. So I couldn't legitimately put those games on there as being shitty.
It's mainly because the story for the quote unquote truth path makes little to no sense, and also houses some of the worst maps in the game, in the franchise's series, in the series' history.
Well, to be fair, Fire Emblem is kind of like hit or miss. You know, when it's working, but when it's not working, it's obvious that it's not working, you know?
Yeah.
Not an excuse. I'm just saying, like, that's just how Fire Emblem has it has its ups and its downs. Basically, is what I'm saying. And when it's good, it's good. But when it's not good, bad Fire Emblem is not fun. But what's your number one?
I mean, that is. I already listed out my top 10 worst games.
Oh, you had your dishonorable mentions? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, Kenoshi was going to give his worst if he's still on. Let me check. No. Okay. So I guess I guess we can hold it until Kenoshi gets back. I guess we can go on an intermission. So we got a little bit of time left. So anyone get any games for Christmas?
No, not really. I did bought the retro edition of Lion and Lion King. Just for the sheer novelty of it and to find out how to try out the games myself since I never played the original games before.
All right.
Back in my childhood.
If you want to go
For me,
having finally played both of them before the end of the year, I'll just say this: I prefer the Aladdin game over the Lion King.
Yeah, but the Aladdin game is playable. Lion King is just like it's like that game holds you down and says, "I'm gonna curb stomp you in the nuts." Lion King. How you like that?
And that game is so unforgivable.
Yeah, it is.
Platformer.
That game is unnecessarily difficult. It's one of those games where you're like, clearly they're doing this because they hate you.
I also enjoy yoga.
No kidding.
Dance.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we hate you.
I have to watch YouTube videos to find out how to get through past these levels.
Yeah, it's a motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie. Lion King. That is one of the worst Disney games
Platformers
in existence. Well, just Disney games ever made. It's terrible. Like I would rather play a cheap cash tie-in that's kind of stupid, like Little Mermaid, than the Lion King on
Genesis or SNES.
on anything. That's just a terrible game. It is bad. It is. Like people need to be ashamed of that game. That's how bad it is. Like they need to apologize. Like I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made this game. I apologize. I fucked up.
Eesh.
They need to apologize and say we fucked up. That's what they need to do. We fucked up.
Thank goodness for the rewind feature so I could undo my platforming mistakes from that game.
I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Games should not have rewind features. If your game is so shitty that people have to rewind shit, that's not good.
You got a problem.
It probably must be quite.
Yeah.
Though some games make you question that line, and I think the only one that I think would do that for me would be Ghouls and Goblins. Yeah.
I don't think because like if you look at some of the best platformers ever made, like some of the best 2D platformers of all time, like you look at your Donkey Kong Countries, your Super Mario World, your Super Mario World 2. Well, I don't really consider Yoshi's Island to be a good platformer, but like some of the best platformers of all time, they don't need a rewind function. They're just well made and they give you checkpoints. Like Lion King is made to fuck with you. Like the game was legitimately made that hard because they knew people were gonna rent it and they wanted to get people to give up their money because they were renting the shit, not because it was a good game. And that bothers me. You know, that bothers me that they would release a game that was like that. And I know some people might not like that. They might be like, oh, how could you say that? It's like very easily. It's bullshit, man. Fuck that game. Yeah, I said it. Fuck it. Fuck it.
As I was saying that, the only one I was saying that I could actually consider giving that kind of idea to would be Ghosts and Ghouls and Goblins, and that's because of how hard some of those levels are.
I mean, I guess, but the thing is like, the people who beat those games got through them without doing that. They just got good enough. Because Ghosts and Goblins is a skill-based pattern memorization game. Like, you have to get good enough to get through that shit. And that's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Can the same be said with the original Ninja Gaiden trilogy?
Yeah, like I beat those games and I did it the hard way. I just got through that shit, you know.
I'm a writer.
Over time, you know, I pounded my way through that. I know that sounds a little off-putting, but I mean, you just had to get good enough to get through it. But you play some of the shit they got now, it's like, come on, man, come on, baby, don't do that. But anyway, okay, Kenoshi. Okay, I've given Kenoshi as much time as I can. I gotta.
You gotta move on.
I gotta move on. We'll save his if he comes in fast enough. He can give his. So next we have our best games of the decade. So who wants to go first?
I'll probably go first.
All right, go ahead.
Because I've been knowing mine for a while.
Okay, go ahead.
These are my top 10 best games of the decade in no particular order. Number 1, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 2, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 4, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Number 5, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Number 6, Number 2. Number 7, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Number 8, Sonic Mania. Number 9, Doom 2016. And number 10 would have to go to, let's see. I believe I'll have to go to
Take your time.
Yeah, taking my time right now. Oh yeah, the original Xenoblade game.
All right.
Even though I haven't fully finished it.
I have just one small question. Do you game on anything but Nintendo platforms?
Nope.
Man, you've really cut yourself out of a lot of quality gaming there. Okay, so I guess you can go, Jewel.
Hold on a second. If anything, I'm just a little occupied from. Oh God.
Okay, I guess I'll go then.
Yeah.
Okay then. So my list is not as Nintendo centric, although I do have a lot of Nintendo titles on here. So my number 10 best game of the decade is Super Mario 3D World. That came out in 2013. Super Mario 3D World to me has a lot of replay value. It's really good. You have 5 different playable characters. You have each character has a different play style. So beating each level with each character gives you different. So that's a lot of replay value. So you have to play each level at least 5 times. There's Champions Road, which is a motherfucker. It's a lot of replay value, and you can play a lot of it. Oh, in order for a game to be on this list, it has to be a game that if all I had were these 10 games, I would be good. Like, I wouldn't need any other game while I was playing these games for 10 years. So that's why they're on the list. It's not just because I like them. So number 9 is Xenoblade Chronicles X. And that came out in 2015. And the reason this game is on here versus Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 is just because Xenoblade Chronicles X, to me, has a more innovative combat system than 1 and 2. Like, 1 and 2 are a little, how can I put this? Overly they kind of simplified the combat system a little bit, which, to me, you should be making things more complex, not less complex. And they kind of didn't do that a little bit, but, it is what it is. So, yeah. The number 8 is Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem Sharp, aka Persona Emblem. That came out 2015. I like that game a lot. I put it on the list because, like I said, I like that game a lot. And I have a secret love for games that essentially... I have a secret love affair for games that have Sentai characters and music Just because when I was a kid, one of the girls who used to babysit me watched a lot of Sailor Moon. A lot of Sailor Moon, a lot of Inuyasha. So shit like that kind of, I have a soft spot for it. And when I play a game that lets me do that type of cool shit, I'm like, well, I gotta play this. And that's what happened. Yeah. So number 6 is Mario and Luigi Dream Team. I mean, that's my favorite of the Mario Luigi franchise, just because it's the most polished one. Has a lot of features. It's really polished. So, and it also is the one that has some of the most imaginative special abilities. The whole dream aspect is pretty cool. Next is let me take a look right here. Number 5 is Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas came out in 2010, so it's good. It fits the criterion. But yeah, Fallout New Vegas is one of my favorite 3D open world action RPGs, and it was made by Obsidian, and it is really fucking good. Like, much better than it has any business being. And I love it. It's got great character design, great writing. You know, everything that you want in an open world action RPG you have in this game, and it's totally worth having. So yeah, Fallout New Vegas, great. Number 4 is Captain Toad. I like this game because it basically takes the concept of a platformer and flips it on its head, because it's a platformer where you cannot jump, which is, I mean, you would think it would work because that's kind of a core aspect of a platformer, is that you can jump, and yet this game doesn't have it, and yet it works. Like Todd Howard likes to say, it just works. It just works.
It also
It just works. It just works. Oh God!
Yeah,
you almost got me singing that song.
It's a puzzle game, but it shows just how good Nintendo can be when they apply themselves and don't get lazy. Like how well they can design shit to work in a game. You know, because how many developers do you know that you could say, okay, we need you to make a platformer where you cannot jump, and the shit still works? Like most developers can't do that. Most developers can't make a game where you can't jump and the shit works. Can't do it. Like I've seen some people do it, but most of them can't. But Nintendo is just that good that they could pull it off. So for that alone, they get it's one of the best games of the decade. Number 3 is Lego City. Now I have this game on PC and on the Wii U. And the reason I'm saying Lego City is because Lego City is an astonishingly good game. It's basically GTA, but with Legos. And the cool thing about Lego City is, like, the game has a very child-friendly aesthetic, but if you play it, you'll realize something really interesting. A lot of the jokes you would only get if you're an adult. And I love that.
Some people get a good laugh out of the jokes when they can understand them.
Well, they're just
right?
jokes. They're just jokes in the game that, like, you would not get if you were a kid. You'd enjoy the game, you could play it, but like any game that can be enjoyed on multiple levels, I love games like that. Like there's a joke in the game that when you get the ability to like listen in on people's conversations, where the character, like, you can listen in on people while you're trying to find something, and at one point the guy, like, one of the characters says, hey, like, he's talking to his wife, he's like, honey, why do none of our kids look like me? And I'm like, this is a kid's game. This is a fucking kid's game. And this guy is basically implying that his wife's fucking around on him. That is hilarious. You know? in a quote unquote kids game, a kitty ass kids game, they do jokes like that. That's hilarious. So with that being said, my number 2 game of the decade is Saints Row 4 because it basically Saints Row 4 is off the chain. It basically gives you superpowers. Like if you
I thought Saints Row hit the top.
no, it's not number 1. Saints Row 4 is basically like, hey, you have you ever wanted to play a Hulk Ultimate Destruction, but you couldn't find it? Well, here you go. It's basically Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, but you can't destroy buildings. That's the only downside of it. But aside from that, it's pretty damn good. I think it's a pretty damn good game.
If that's the only downside, some people could actually live it.
It's got guns, it's got superpowers, it's got people getting blown the fuck up. It's got some awesome fights going on. I mean, it's everything you want in a game like this and more. And I love it. I love it very much. I think it's astonishingly good. And that came out in 2013. And here are my honorable mentions of games, best game of the decade. Kingdoms of Amalur, that came out in 2012. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2, they're honorable mentions. They could have been on the list, but something kept them from being on there. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, just because it has Paper Mario in it, and it had Paper Mario in it. I like Paper Mario, but the last few Paper Mario games have been not good. A Robot Named Fight, that came out this decade. I couldn't find the exact date. Metroid Prime Trilogy, which came out 2009, so it beats the cutoff. I know that Metroid Prime Corruption came out before then, but the trilogy is all 3 games, and not everyone had the games on GameCube. So, for those of you who didn't get it, here's a way you can get all those games in one fell swoop. I'm talking about the Wii version. And I know some people say, well, I have it on the Wii U. That's a port of the Wii version. And it's really good. And, of course, another honorable mention, Fire Emblem Awakening. Yes, I didn't forget Fire Emblem. I just,
You limited yourself.
Well, it would have been, Fire Emblem Awakening would have been on this list, but those aggressive microtransactions just kind of kept it from getting on the list. Because those microtransactions, if your base game is $34, and in order for me to get all the DLC, I would have to spend $60, $70. That's some bullshit. By any stretch of the imagination, that's not cool. Well, love you, Nintendo, but that's not kosher. It's not kosher, I tell you. It's not kosher. So I'm not cool with that, and I don't think it's cool. So,
yeah.
That ain't right. God damn it. It ain't right. Tain't fair, tain't right.
And thanks for the cover, Sense. If anything, I was trying to keep from swearing because I was in a ranked match.
I'm studying psychology and...
Listen. Like I said, Nintendo should know better than to have those types of microtransactions in a game.
Yeah.
That's a bridge too far. There was a line, you crossed it. And Fire Emblem Awakening within of itself is a good game, but those microtransactions bring it down. And I know some people will be like, but look, listen, it's a good game, but those aggressive fucking microtransactions, they just really bring it down. They bring it way down. It's not cool. And my number one game of the decade, my number one game that basically made me say, wow, if I had just these 10 games, just these 10 games that would basically make me say, wow, I'm good, I don't need anything else, is the original Splatoon. That's right, the original Splatoon is my number one. The reason the original Splatoon is my number one is because the original Splatoon is just, in my opinion, it's just a really good all-around game. Yes, it's very multiplayer-centric. Yes, you have to have online or a local area
My
network
name's
adapter.
Francis.
But the game is just so well made. It's it's really well balanced. Um, you know, all the weapons feel different. It's just really, really fucking well. It's just a really well made game.
The sequel is also an extension, adding more customizable features for your characters.
Look,
like
this is
style.
not about the sequel. It's not on this list, okay? Speaking of the sequel, I think that the original game is better than the sequel. The sequel basically adds a lot of things that we wanted in the original game. It adds, an expansion for the single player, which is nice, but the sequel is missing something that was there in the original, and that is the asymmetrical gameplay of the gamepad. And I don't care how much they've tried to map the shit to to the game to a controller and all that stuff. You really cannot replicate how good it felt to use those special abilities with the gamepad with a regular controller. And so much so that it really is missing when you play it on a regular controller. And I played Splatoon 2 with the regular controller, the two Joy-Cons put into that thing, and it's just not the same. You know, it just doesn't have the same.
I was going to say that you transformed it into the dog controller.
Well, whatever it's called. I call it the Mutant Freak controller, whatever. It's just not the same. And to me, that makes it a lesser version of the original. Even though in every other way, it surpasses the original. But the thing about Splatoon is that asymmetrical gameplay is so much a part, especially how you use special abilities and where you choose to go when you respawn and all that stuff. With it not being there, it really is missing. It's like, oh man, I wish this was here. And now that it's not here, I'm really missing it. So, and so
yeah, I can understand where you're coming from on that one.
Some people might ask why I don't have Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey on this list. The reason I do not have Breath of the Wild on this list is because Breath of the Wild, once you do everything in it, is fucking boring to me. So, not on the list.
It has tons of replay value.
Not really.
Like, do some kind
I'm sorry, but me really going to say that it doesn't have that much.
Not really to me. Basically, once you max
like
out
how fast you can get all 900 Korok seeds.
Once you max out all of your health and stamina on 2 different playthroughs, which I did. Once you get all 900 Korok seeds and get the Golden Poo Award, which I did. Once you do the run where you're like, okay, as soon as I get off the Great Plateau, I'm gonna go into Hyrule Castle and fight Ganon, which I did. It's really not much to do. I mean, and here's the thing: so much of Breath of the Wild is fucking forgettable. The boss fights are forgettable. The dungeons are forgettable, except for a few of the shrine challenges are not forgettable. Like when you have to go to that island and you lose all your shit and you got to fight your way through these dudes using just the bare minimum equipment. That's kind of cool, but aside from that, most of it is just fucking forgettable. And the final boss fight, which is most egregious, is just blah. Say whatever you want to about past Legend of Zelda games, but even the dungeons that people hate, people remember them. If you put a gun to my head and said, recall 6 shrines from Breath of the Wild, I couldn't do it. It's forgettable. And Mario Odyssey isn't on this list because Mario Odyssey is essentially a sequel. It's a spiritual successor to Mario Sunshine. Mario Sunshine is my least favorite 3D Mario game in existence, and the fact that they made a spiritual successor to it is egregious because, I mean, you know, like you would think with all the technology we have, like they would fix some of the issues that you had in Mario Sunshine with Mario Odyssey, but they didn't. I mean, fuck Bowser and the Naughties or whatever those rabbits are called or whatever. Your greatest enemy in this game is that damn camera. That's your greatest enemy.
Mario games in 3D always have the camera as your biggest foe and not just Bowser.
That's not true. I would say that I would say Mario Galaxy. While the camera wasn't perfect, the camera wasn't like fighting you as badly as Mario Odyssey seems to. Like, there's entire power moons that you can miss, not because you were in a hurry or you weren't moving fast enough, but because the camera's like, you ain't gonna see that shit over there. Fuck you. And that's not good. Like, you're fighting these bosses, but then you gotta fight. You gotta fight the camera too. That's not cool. But that's my own personal opinion, and that's my top. Those are my top 10 games of the decade. If I had nothing but these games to play, I would be okay. I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. I got enough games. I'm good. I don't need anything else. I'm good. So.
Okay, Jules, your turn.
Yeah, and if anything, I'll give out 2 honorable mentions before I start bronze, silver, and gold.
All right.
And my first honorable mention will be the Donkey Kong Country Returns series.
All right.
And
Which one? The first Returns or Tropical Freeze?
When I usually say series, I usually add both.
All right.
But for this one, I'll give it to Tropical Freeze for this one. And the second one, believe it or not, I actually had to change this one recently.
All right.
My second honorable mention will be Mario 8.
Mario Party 8?
I said Kart.
Mario Kart 8? Yeah.
Yeah. And that would leave my former honorable mention as bronze, which is Radiant Historia.
Yeah, I was gonna put Mario Kart on my best of, but when Nintendo pulled that shit where they re-released the game and added the content that should have been in the original release, I was like, you ain't making it on this list.
It made it on my list as honorable mention, but if anything, I consider the entire Mario Party 8, meaning that even if it re-released, it's still on this list.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is on my honorable mentions, if not for its roster full of time paradox characters like the Baby Mario characters.
That's one of the few things. That's the reason why I changed it to an honorable mention instead of bronze.
Yeah, it didn't get on my list because of that. I was like, you re-released this shit with shit that should have been there in the first place, and then you want to get accolades for shit that you should have done. It's like someone saying, I took care of my kids. Motherfucker, you're supposed to take care of your kids. You don't get an award for doing what you're supposed to do. I never went to jail. You're not supposed to go to jail, motherfucker. So, I couldn't put it on there.
Radiant Historia is bronze for me.
It's a good
Silver,
game. Yeah.
Silver would be the wonderful 1-0.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard that.
Yeah, the Wonderful 101. That is a good game. I almost put that on the list, but then I realized that game is so niche that...
Hey, and this is from personal list, mind you, so...
Yeah, I understand that. I'm simply saying it's so niche that, like even though I enjoy it, it's, like, I understand where people would have problems with it, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Platinum makes games for gamers, but sometimes that's to their detriment, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but still, you cannot give them no credit.
Well, it's not that I don't give them credit. It's just sometimes they make games that are so much for gamers that it alienates people who want to get into their games, is what I'm saying. Which is the flaw with Wonderful 101, is that there's entire gameplay systems that you'd have no concept exist because they don't tell you. And that's not good game design. Like, it's,
I was gonna say that if you want that kind of mess, go with Bayonetta.
No, it's just, I mean, like I said, they so much make games so much for gamers that they kind of forget that even gamers sometimes need a little bit of help. And I think that's kind of like the thing. It's the thing that makes Platinum's such a great studio, but it's also the thing that holds them back from being like the highest caliber tier studio is because they just don't, they don't do that. Like you would think working with Nintendo, they would start to learn how to moderate their difficulty curves, but no, they don't.
Well, if anything, that's my silver, and my gold. Well, Redbox, you and me share this one. But if anything, I give it to the entire Splatoon series. Start with just Splatoon 1.
Oh, really? Yeah. I couldn't do 2 because when they took away the gamepad, I was like, Like I've put not quite as much time in Splatoon 2 as I did in 1, but I just I don't enjoy Splatoon 2 like I do 1. Like I just don't. I'm like, it's okay.
I accept the series as a whole as my number 1 for the time. Since if anything, it kind of got me into a series. I mean, if a game series could get you into a game genre that you do not love at all, that has to be
squad-based shooters.
Yeah.
Squad-based objective shooters. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo changed up the game because you have a squad-based shooter where killing things isn't really the major goal, which is unique because you don't really get that in a lot of
games.
In a lot of games, yeah, it's always like, well, how many kills do you get? Like, if you spend all your time just splatting people in Splatoon and not laying down ink, you're gonna suck at this game.
Yeah,
which I
that's
love.
the reason, and that's the reason why I actually considered it my number 1 because it brought me into a whole game genre.
Yeah,
you gotta give the series credit in that sense.
Well, I was already kind of into that genre anyway, but Nintendo got into it and they put their own Nintendo spin on it, which I liked. So I was like, yeah, I'm cool with it. I like it for what it is.
I just realized none of us played plus Undertale on our lists.
I put that in the trash.
I didn't put Undertale on the list because I did a video 2 weeks ago talking about winners and losers of the decade, and I said the winners of the decade were indie games. Undertale's an indie game, so like there were so many indie games released, I couldn't be like, well, this indie game is better than this indie game because there's been a lot of good indie games released this decade, so I can't just pick just one, It's like, pick your favorite kid. I like all my kids. Maybe not evenly all the time, but I like all of them. So there we go. Best and worst of the decade. Anyone have anything else they want to bring up? We got a little bit of time. We got 10 minutes before the end of the podcast. Anyone have anything they want to pimp out?
Yes,
I do. Discuss.
Yeah, there was some recent video game related drama that happened before the end of 2019.
All right.
Regarding Mike Matei.
Really, what happened?
Basically, he made a tweet stating that anyone who uses the rewind feature for the NES and SNES games on Nintendo's online service have not. He claims that anyone who uses it have not truly beaten the game.
No, they haven't.
Oh no! Don't tell me you're a part of that bandwagon.
Well, it's not a bandwagon. It's like this, okay? Think of it like this, okay? If you're playing a retro game, right? If you're playing a retro game or doing anything that's old school, like if someone says, "Hey, have you read the Three Musketeers?" right? And like you read the comic book version of the Three Musketeers, you didn't read it the way it was meant to be read. So it's like there's like an asterisk next to you saying you read it, It just doesn't have the same level of
But the thing is that the game should be accessible to anyone, especially those who might have.
I'm
Too,
not. Look, I'm not saying that you didn't play it. I'm saying that it doesn't have the same weight, merit to it as someone else. It's kind of like if you beat a game with cheat codes versus actually playing it the way it was meant to be played. Yeah, you beat it, you played it, you experienced it, but you can't say that you played it with the same level of skill or you beating it has the same merit as someone who didn't cheat. That's just how it is. And yes, using a rewind feature is kind of like cheating. Because that's not how we played it back in the day. We didn't have that back in the day. We had to just learn to play the game. And if you died, you went back to a checkpoint. Some games didn't even have a checkpoint. You had a certain amount of continues, and once your ass was done, you had to start the game all over again. And are you comparing your gaming skill to ours who had to do it the hard way? Fuck no. Get the fuck out of my face with that shit. I'm sorry. Yeah, we can talk about the game, we can talk about the hard parts, but when I'm saying, yeah, and I died and I had to start all over again, no, I just rewound it. Well, you had it easier than I did, didn't you?
As I said, that's the only thing that I have that's the only game that I would say would be worth the rewind. But
this form of logic can be applied to real life as well with the older generation.
Yeah.
Thinking that their lives were far better because they worked harder than we do.
Well, first of all, even though the older generation likes to say that, that's not entirely true. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true because the older generation had a lot of hurry up and wait time, whereas people in our age group just got fucked. We work longer hours, we have less vacation time. We don't get paid nearly as well for working as hard as we do because of inflation. Like $1 30 years ago bought you more than $1 now. So basically what I'm saying is that if you're a young person, you're getting fucked. And not in a way that might be enjoyable.
Enough said.
So yeah, as I was saying, I'm just simply saying that it's not the same. It's like if someone says, "Hey man, I'm a reader." Well, what do you read? Well, I read Cat in the Hat and stuff like that. Like if all you read are like preschool grade level books, and then you want to compare your reading skills to someone who reads like Chaucer
novels
and Dostoevsky and stuff like that. No, you're not at that level. And you you would get laughed out if you walked up to someone and they were discussing deep, rich, engaging shit and you brought up that little child shit that you read and want to hang out with the big boys. You need to sit your ass down and
again, I have to bring that up is that what you're implying to me when my top 10 list was consisted of mostly Nintendo stuff?
No, I just thought it was kind of weird because, actually, no. I was saying that because here's the thing. If all you play are Nintendo games, there's a bevy of really awesome games on other platforms that you're missing out on. Like, literally, it's the equivalent of someone saying, it's like someone saying, the only burgers I ever eat are burgers at McDonald's. Now, you might enjoy the burgers at McDonald's, but there's a lot of other places that serve burgers that might be better or might be worse than McDonald's, but you wouldn't know because you only ate at McDonald's. You're cutting yourself off from an experience.
At least if anything, I will admit that
out of a sense of loyalty.
Exclusive Nintendo, and I could say that my scope is limited to a point.
Now, to be fair, I too am a Nintendo fan, but I don't just play shit on Nintendo.
I was going to say that you already got range out ahead of me with you having to be on Steam.
Well, I play a lot of stuff. I don't just play on Nintendo.
Yeah.
I play. I'm getting a PS4 in March. Well, no, February. But I'm only getting it for like 3 games, so I feel kind of bad about just getting it for 3 games, but fuck it, I'm doing it. Because those 3 games seem like they're going to be awesome. You have to expand your visions and expose yourself to different things so that you can become a more well-rounded individual. Or so they say. That's what my high school counselor said before they recommended that I go to this shitty school that would have had me
Well, it's not my fault that most of the third-party games have been
Hello, my name.
average to mediocre.
That's not true. I mean, there's some third-party games that are actually really good. Listen, I got third-party games on my list. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. Actually, the Mario and Luigi series is a second-party game made by a third party, Alpha Dream. Fallout New Vegas, really good, third party. Lego City, third party. Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, that's a third party game. Yeah, it's second party, because it's published, but it's third party game. I mean, they're third party game, and I mean, they're third party games that you don't have to, spend an arm and a leg on. It's
Yeah.
I mean, look, you don't want to support.
So,
Personally, for years, I didn't want to support Sony, so, I didn't get Sony consoles day one. I always get Sony consoles towards the end of their console life. That's a good time to go get them. Get them cheap. Get a lot of games cheap. I would say go to GameStop, but GameStop probably ain't going to be around for much longer, so you got to find someplace else to get cheap games at. GameStop ain't going to make it. GameStop going out of business.
Oh, their stores are closing right now?
They're closing stores left and right. They're trying to hang on until the new consoles come out, but I don't think they can make it. And even if they do make it till the new consoles come out, it's still not going to be enough. GameStop is well and truly fucked, my friend. They are. It's hilarious. This is what they get for fucking people over for years, though, and trying to sell people on shit they didn't need. Fucking people over left and right.
I gotta say, yeah. Well, but Disney didn't like. I didn't like the Disney part, but I like original.
It kind of makes sense to see that they get what they deserve.
Oh, some very recent news. Someone data mined the full game of Final Fantasy VII remake from the demo. Supposedly.
I mean, if I cared, it'd be interesting, but
yeah, especially after knowing how they're screwing the game over already.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it completely real. Since I don't really like Final Fantasy VII in the first place, I'm not really all like, oh my god, the remake is going to be awesome. It's like, it could be good, but it probably won't be. Because, I mean, like I said, do you trust current Square Enix with anything? I don't. I wouldn't trust them to walk my dog,
Yeah. If anything, I don't trust them. Trust them with how they currently run their games after
I think, of course,
how they did Final Fantasy 15 and 13.
I wouldn't go that far. I just don't think they make good games anymore. Like, Square Enix hasn't released a good Final Fantasy in years. Years. I know some people will disagree, but I don't give a shit. I don't like Final Fantasy the way it is now. It's not very good, so and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. We're at the end of the podcast. Someone send me. Oh, it's my computer sending me messages. Tell you, man, these smart computers. So, anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up? Nothing?
I think I'm alright.
Any projects you guys working on? No? Okay,
All I did recently, I did posted a new article for Video Game Editorials last week.
Pardon?
I did post a new article for Video Game Editorials last week.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. This is Mr. Red Fox signing out. if you want to reach the channel, you can get in touch with me via Gmail at mrredfoxbsbusters@gmail.com, or on Twitter at Matthew Wesley at MrRedFox91. If YouTube's bullshit continues, then you know what? I'll just jump to Twitch. So either way, you guys will be the first people to know. Twitch might be more responsive because then we can reply to people ASAP immediately. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. I'm going to steal this from Shadow Fox Infinite. Do you play games to have fun or to impress other people? I don't know about you. I do it to impress other people and only other people. With that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Stay tuned. This Saturday, we will be doing another podcast where we will be talking about the future of gaming and what we hope and pray things will be, but probably won't be because, no one ever learns anything in this industry. They just keep on doing the same shit over and over and over again. So with that being said, that's in the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, good night, and happy New Year!
Responsibly.
I am Nanja Ibiko from Cameroon.